everybody, my name's Heather Champion and this is Let's Talk About It. In this episode, I'm going to talk a little bit about emotions. I feel like emotions are really hard to talk about because we tend to use the word feeling interchangeably with emotion, but feeling can mean a lot of different things. I can feel hot, I can feel sad, I can feel uncomfortable. While all these things are feelings, how many of them are actually an emotion? When I'm teaching about emotions, I like to describe them as like clouds because just like there are a lot of emotions, there's just as many types of clouds. Emotions can cloud our view, like a heavy fog. They can filter what we see or how we see it, like how things look different in the shade of a cloud as opposed to standing in the sun. Clouds can make things look beautiful in the way that they filter the light, like in a sunset. The way the world looks at dusk reminds me of the feeling of being in love. Just like how clouds appear to live on a different plane, literally up in the atmosphere, emotions also live on somewhat of a different realm, our subconscious. And just like how clouds exist someplace else but can affect life on the ground, right, through rain and storms, things that fall out of the clouds, our emotions might exist in a different plane, but they affect the way that we physically feel. Clouds might appear solid, but in actuality are not. They're just energy and water vapor. Our emotions are similar in that we can't touch them. We can sense that they're around, but we can't touch or feel them. Like I can touch or feel my own hair or look at my knee. Another thing to remember is that like clouds, emotions can't be controlled. If you've ever lived through a natural disaster, like say a drought or a terrible storm, you know that in a drought we desperately want clouds because they might bring some rain. Or if we know a bad storm is coming, we can't stop the storm. We just need to prepare ourselves and wait for the storm to be over. In psychotherapy, we hope to learn about our emotions, especially the most damaging ones, so that we can prepare for them and take a safer path when we know that they're on their way. Another thing we hope to do in psychotherapy is to recognize that like clouds, emotions come and go. Many of the people that I work with try to cling to their happy emotions and ignore the negative ones. This makes as much sense as having a picnic during a rainstorm. If we're set on having a picnic, at least take an umbrella or a rain jacket. That's what I mean by preparing for our emotions and learning to predict them. Kind of like how we try to predict the weather. Because just like clouds, if we understand ourselves, we can observe the physical changes in the environment and use that to predict changes in our emotions. Although some people are like the weather here in Florida, you never really know when a storm is about to pop up. So what exactly are emotions? We know that clouds are a collection of water vapor and energy that are affected by barometric pressure changes in the atmosphere. Emotions are somewhat similar in that they contain energy. What prompts us to feel an emotion is shifts in hormone levels associated with the stress response system. I'm going to talk more about the stress response system in another episode. But what we need to know for this episode is that the stress response system scans the environment, that's the physical makeup of what's going on around us and what's happening inside of us. The system observes the relative safety of the environment. If the system deems the environment safe, so if it thinks that there's safety there, it tells the automatic processing part of our brain everything is okay and releases happy hormone. If the system detects the environment is not safe, then it releases protective hormones that we can find safety. There are two main types of emotions, primary and secondary. Primary emotions are the ones infants are born with and do not involve much of any thought whatsoever. They just kind of instantly happen. Secondary emotions are primary emotions plus a thought process. Through my work with many of my clients, I believe there is one most primary emotion that the presence or absence of which prompts one of four base emotions. And these five put together are our most primary emotions. Connection, a feeling of being connected to those around us or connected to a larger purpose in life, creates a feeling of love and happiness. But the opposite of connection, which would be disconnection or a sense of being lonely in a room full of people or disenfranchised, that would create a sense of fear and of sadness. What are the emotions that typically get us into the worst trouble? In my experience, it's the feeling of being loneliness or disconnected or disenfranchisement, plus disappointment and shame. Put those all together, you get a little bit of a powder keg of emotion. Because if I feel ashamed for something that I've done, that also means I'm disappointed in myself, right? For my actions, and my shame and disappointment cause me to feel like other people don't want me around, which in turn increases the amount of shame and disappointment I'm feeling. The other end of this sequence is fear and impulsive safety behaviors, but we'll get to that in another episode. Each of our most prominent emotions have a set of physical sensations and actions that are associated with that we would typically engage in if we were feeling an emotion. We're usually pretty good at identifying when other people are experiencing an emotion, or even maybe our dog or cat. But we're really not very good at identifying when we're feeling that particular emotion. Being unable to give words to our emotions is called alexithymia. And we're going to discuss that in its whole own episode. That's about all the time we have for today. I'll see you next week when I go into behaviorism and the types of psychotherapy that use it. Have a great one, everybody. I'll see you soon.